I want you to ask yourself again this question: who wins? Who wins with this situation? Donald Trump kidnapped Nicolas Maduro and his wife in the dead of night. But this isn't new. Let's do a flashback first before we get into the details. And then we're going to break this down. We're going to look at the drug claim. We're going to look at the Venezuelan refugees, which that has been announced newly. We're going to look at Israel. We're going to look at the money, and we're going to look at the public response. Right now, I'm here to tell you, this is not good for Donald Trump. People are not happy despite what you think you're seeing on social media. But let's go back. Haven't we seen this before? Shout out to Gen X Girl. Like I said, she has been on it. We've been here before, haven't we?
As president, I have no higher obligation than to safeguard the lives of American citizens. And that is why I directed our armed forces to protect the lives of American citizens in Panama and to bring General Noriega to justice in the United States.
Good afternoon. Yesterday, December the 13th, at around 8:30 p.m. Baghdad time, United States military forces captured Saddam Hussein alive. He was found near a farmhouse outside the city of Tikrit in a swift raid conducted without casualties.
Wow.
Unconfirmed.
Unconfirmed. Yeah. Unconfirmed. No. Unconfirmed reports about Gaddafi being captured.
And of unconfirmed videos.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died. Did it have
So we've been here before. Same playbook, different reason every now and then. But Brian Berlatek, journalist focused on Eurasia, he warned people about this multiple times. He actually warned people about it on my show. Brian Berlatek said, like I said before, neocon sock puppet Trump and his neocon line administration even won the election or took office. Nothing was going to change no matter who was elected, and all the neocon wars would advance as usual. In fact, they accelerated. This should lay to rest any doubt regarding U.S. withdrawal from hegemony. These fantasies floating around out here, especially regarding Russia, Iran, and China, who the U.S. is already in the process of fighting either directly or by proxy, and whose dismemberment of Venezuela aims to further isolate and weaken. What Brian Berlatek revealed on this show was that the Brookings Institute had already explained years ago the foreign policy, the plan for foreign policy laid out over the next couple of years. And one of them was Venezuela. So what you see happening right now was already decided. When it comes to foreign policy, oftentimes this is the case. Now, let's go to what Donald Trump said about Venezuela and Maduro.
Yeah, what was that?
Getting land, oil rights, whatever we had, they took it away because we had a president that maybe wasn't watching. But they're not going to do that. We want it back. They took our oil rights. We had a lot of oil there. As you know, they threw our companies out, and we want it back.
I don't know how many times Donald Trump has made the statement that we want the oil, and still people continue to fall for the okie doke. So here's what happened, ladies and gents. People are asking, why didn't Maduro's military step in to protect him or save him? Did you know that the U.S. government turned off the lights? And if they can turn off the lights in Venezuela, they can turn off the lights anywhere. They can turn off the lights right here. Everyone needs to remember this. So there is footage of this, of the lights going off. Check this out.
Were you listening when Donald Trump said this?
Maduro in the dead of night. It was dark. The lights of Caracas were largely turned off due to a certain expertise that we have.
It sounds like what he's saying is the United States has the capability of turning off the lights for 1.9 million people in a large Latin American country like that. And of course, I wouldn't believe it if there wasn't a video.
Y después van hacia arriba, ¿sí? Si es por parte de su madre o parte...
And I have to pause it here because after that, we can't show explosions and stuff on here. But this streamer caught the Venezuela strikes live on stream. So again, what it said here, it shows you that the US government turned off the lights in Caracas. I think a lot of times people are underestimating the type of technology that we have in this country, military technology. If they can turn off the lights in Venezuela, they can turn off the lights anywhere, even here. So they turned off the lights. So for people asking why didn't Maduro's military come in and help him, complete blackout. Everything went out. Now imagine walking down the street and that happens, right? Before they captured him, do you know who he met with? Maduro met with a Chinese special envoy. See, these are the things people need to see. This was his last public appearance. He was meeting with China.
Nuestro cariño y admiración. Cariño. China siempre tiene que saber que aquí tiene.
Now remember, Venezuela was interested in becoming a part of BRICS. BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And they're trying to build a multipolar world. And they have entertained this multiple times about moving away from the US dollar. They've entertained that as well. So I just found it interesting that the moment they decided to kidnap, and I say kidnap, not capture. Let's go to part 2, Eric. They decided to kidnap Maduro. It was right after he met with China. They kidnapped him. Let's show the pictures here. I want you to see the picture. So first of all, they blocked off his sight. They blocked off his sound. I don't even think that's legal. I don't think it's legal to block off someone's senses when they're being transported, especially after you've kidnapped them. There's Maduro right there. And then here's another one here. Okay. So that was him on board the USS Iwo Jima. Right there. Now, the reason why I showed you those videos at the very beginning, just to remind you that this has been done through multiple presidential terms, whether it was Gaddafi under Obama, whether it was Saddam Hussein under George W. Bush. Doesn't matter what the party is that's in the White House when it comes to imperialism abroad and when it comes to overthrowing governments. Now, I mention those because I want to remind you what happened to those countries when they overthrew their leader. Because for all the people saying this is a win for Venezuela, I don't think so. Nothing good can come from this. In fact, Tulsi Gabbard had been warning about this for years until she decided to get paid. Now you don't hear Tulsi Gabbard saying anything. She is silent as hell since Maduro was kidnapped. There's another video that was released here. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro tells reporters good night and happy new year. This one came through pretty late last night here.
Good night. Good night. Happy New Year.
Now, people saw this and they said, well, he doesn't look upset or anything like that. And I said, well, you know, there could be some type of deal that they try to make But at the end of the day, remember, Nicolas Maduro, before he was captured, he said that he was willing to talk, to sit down and talk. But Trump was like, nah, we're going to go in gangster style. And notice, just like that, people stopped talking about the Epstein files. Just like that. And what's scary about this is Donald Trump is saying we can do this everywhere. No one can stop us. His words, not mine.
But we can't take a chance after having done this incredible thing last night of letting somebody else take over, where we have to do it again. We can do it again, too. Nobody can stop us. There's nobody that has the capability that we have. You know, when I watch that war in Russia going on and on and on and everybody dying, and it's like, it's primitive. It's primitive. It's horrible.
So there is the president of the United States saying we can do this anywhere and no one can stop us. By the way, Donald Trump has already announced we're going to look at Cuba. There's something that these countries also have in common. We'll get into that as well. But let's start with the drug claim. The drug claim. Donald Trump and his minions said that Nicolas Maduro, that they were trafficking fentanyl. Fentanyl is not even produced in Venezuela. But you don't have to believe me. Just look at what Wallace says. Drug traffickers in South America do not produce or traffic fentanyl. Let's go on here. It says, especially in Northwest, 3,000 miles from Venezuela, as the only significant source of illicit fentanyl and fentanyl analogs, significantly affecting the United States during the preceding calendar year. The analysis concluded on September 3rd, 2025. There is no proof that fentanyl is manufactured or trafficked from Venezuela or anywhere else in South America. I have been saying this over and over again. Fentanyl is not produced in South America. Yet Donald Trump and Marco Rubio and Pam Bondi and all of them said it, so it must be true, according to their supporters. Quick Google search and you can find this. Now people bring up cocaine. Now why are they bringing up cocaine? Because now all of a sudden it's not fentanyl that is in the indictment report. This was released earlier Sunday morning. The U.S. indictment of Maduro cites cocaine smuggling, trade in which Venezuela's role is believed to be modest. So it went from fentanyl to cocaine. Experts have said that Venezuela is not a major producer, not a major drug producer, but rather a minor cocaine transit country, with most of the cocaine flowing through headed to Europe, right here. Plain as day. Now, why is this important? Because Nicolas Maduro will stand trial here in the United States, and the trial, again, according to the indictment, which has flipped from fentanyl to cocaine, because people went through the indictment and saw that fentanyl is not there, it's cocaine that's there. So it's now flipped to cocaine. The trial that is going to take place here, the U.S. government basically has to prove that Nicolas Maduro was trafficking cocaine to the United States. But all the other reports don't show that that is the case, that there was very little cocaine coming from Venezuela, and what was coming from it, the majority was going to Europe. So for all the people who are pushing back and saying, no, he's right to go take him down because of the drugs. Well, that will be something that the U.S. government will have to prove in court. Now, I have very little faith in our justice system, so I think if they want something to stick, they'll find a way to make it stick. But if they cannot and are not willing to go that far, the trial will happen. They'll have no evidence, no proof. Maduro will be acquitted. He'll make some type of deal or agreement with Donald Trump and the administration, and the U.S. government will have a leader installed in Venezuela that they want. And that'll be the end of that. The drug claim also takes me back to Manuel Noriega. There are similarities between the two, for those who are not aware. Before Maduro, there was Noriega. The Venezuela leader is now in U.S. custody. Decades earlier, the U.S. deposed the strongmen who led Panama. Let's get into just a little bit of this here. I'm going to make this larger for the people in the back, as usuals. Let's get into Manuel Noriega here, just to show you a little bit striking resemblance here. That episode holds some striking parallels to the capture of Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela on Saturday, to the capture of Manuel Noriega, with some major differences. George H.W. Bush sent U.S. troops into Panama with the goal of capturing Noriega, who had been the country's military dictator for about 6 years. Noriega went into hiding in the Vatican's embassy in Panama City, where he was eventually captured, taken to the U.S., tried, and imprisoned. Noriega, like Maduro, had been indicted on federal drug trafficking charges. He was accused by the U.S. officials at the time of taking millions of dollars in bribes from drug traffickers and turning Panama into a capital of international cocaine smuggling. Months before both leaders were captured, the U.S. built up its military presence around their countries. Sound familiar? In Panama, President Bush sent nearly 2,000 soldiers and Marines to reinforce the 10,300 service members already there. The troops also began conducting military exercises, but many saw it as an attempt to overthrow Noriega. As part of the pressure campaign on Venezuela, Trump has been building up forces in the Caribbean for months and authorizing strikes on boats that the administration have said are run by drug traffickers. Now, what is interesting about Noriega, the two Latin American leaders, however, had very different responses to U.S. pressure campaigns. So again, Noriega, as we said, he went into hiding. He fled with his mistress in an unmarked Hyundai and went into hiding, briefly emerging at a Dairy Queen before taking refuge at the Embassy of Holy See. He was captured after a standoff that went on for days with the U.S. troops. They used, and this is important, they used speakers to blast heavy metal from bands like Black Sabbath and Guns N' Roses until he surrendered. So that's this type of psychological torture. Noriega, remember, he was basically useful to the U.S. government until he wasn't. Noriega was one of the ones that went to the School of Americas. Let me check that real quick. Just make sure I got the name right. I believe it's the School of Americas. Yeah, the School of Americas. So what was interesting about this school, this is the school which says he went to the School of Americas for training. At the school, Noriega participated in courses on infantry operations, counterintelligence, intelligence, and jungle warfare. He also took a course in psychological operations at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. So Noriega was useful to the U.S. until he wasn't. This is something people need to remember. Also, don't forget that the School of Americas was one that was caught up in several abuses. Remember they talked about before how they were abusing people at the School of Americas? And a lot of people point to it as a CIA front. So these are things that people need to understand. So I thought it's important to show that, and this part here where Mr. Trump said in an interview on Fox that Mr. Maduro wanted to negotiate in the final days before U.S. forces, I'm going to say, kidnapped him, and Trump rejected it. I didn't want to negotiate. I said, nope, we got to do it. So just a reminder there, folks. Like I said, we have been here before. And so now Rodriguez is now installed basically as the president, at least for now. She's the leader in charge in Venezuela. And I want you to hear what she says here. Again, she was the vice president, Delcy Rodriguez. She's been sworn in as the president. Listen to what she said.
A vice president who has just been sworn in as the president of Venezuela. Let's listen in to this media conference.
this means and what our energy resources mean. So this National Defense Council is hereby activated, commissioned, and we are awaiting the constitutional chamber of the Supreme Court. Over the next hours, we will hear what the verdict is. We will wait to see what happens with the Supreme Leader, President Maduro, and all of this is going to be discussed as of this point in time. For our Venezuela, our people here, we have a clear government. And I repeat once and again, based on the words of the president, I reflect them right here. We are willing to respect under the framework of international law and the rules of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. It's the only thing that will be acceptable for us for any engagement and relationship after there has been an assault and aggressive attacks militarily on our nation and capital, and the nation of our father, the liberator, Simon Bolivar. We will find our path forward in peace and tranquility. Those who have resorted to the use of force, those who must resort to international legality, don't have reason on their side. We have reason on our side, and we have the moral empowerment to be able to defend peacefully and tranquility for the future of the people, the right to peace for the Venezuelan people, and the right to a social happiness that we continue galloping forward with our liberator together. We're going to continue to gallop forward in this campaign. We will continue galloping forward.
Yeah, the translator is not the best, okay? But long story short, what Rodriguez is saying there is that they're not just going to fold over to the United States government. Just basically, what she is saying. Now, let's go on a little bit more here. Let's get into the Maria issue. Now, one of the people who has been begging Donald Trump to invade her country was Maria Corina Machado. She was the one that was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize recently, and I told you guys what a joke. This is bullshit. She, in particular, wanted to sell off the oil, the gas, the gold, and wanted to work with Israel. She's a proud Zionist. Listen, just a reminder what she said, because I want to show you what Trump is saying about her now. This is very important with one of the claims that they have against Maduro.
And this is amazing, super exciting for me. We will open Venezuela for foreign investment. I am talking about a $1.7 trillion opportunity, not only in oil and gas, which is huge, and you know that the opportunities, because we will open all upstream, middle stream, downstream to all companies, but also in mining, in gold, in infrastructure, power. We have our grid right now has a 17 gigawatt opportunity of energy potential that needs to be rehabbed. Certainly for technology and AI and tourism. Venezuela has 2,800 kilometers of pristine Caribbean coastline ready to be developed. So this is going to be huge. We will bring rule of law. We will open markets. We will have security for foreign investment and a transparent, massive privatization program that is waiting for you.
So that's Maria there, and that's really interesting because you're going to see what Trump is saying about her now. I think she really thought that she was going to be brought into power. Now, you have to remember Maria, her candidate was Edmundo Gonzalez, who ran against Maduro in the most recent election. He is the one that Maria and others have said was the truthful winner, and that Maduro stole it, etc. That's important. It's important that you hold on to that the election was stolen, that's the claim, and that Maduro is not the rightful president for that country, that it was supposed to be Edmundo Gonzalez. The reason why I say it's important for you to hold on to that is because of what Donald Trump said here recently when he was asked about her after he kidnapped Maduro, he was questioned about Maria being the leader in the country, since again, she was along with Edmundo, and they said that Maduro stole the election. Listen to this response.
Aware of the location of opposition leader Machado, and have you been in contact with her?
No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Mr. President,
Do you have any hesitations about Machado?
Mr. President, on Monday.
Oh, I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have support within, or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect to be the leader.
Aware of the location of opposition leader.
That part is important, because if Maria and her candidate Edmundo Gonzalez, if they were the ones that the people actually wanted, if they were the ones that truthfully won, why does she not have the popularity? Which is what Donald Trump just said. You see how you catch people in their own lies? If that's who the people truly wanted, why does she not have the popularity? Something to think about, ladies and gents. But that was who they wanted. They wanted Edmundo to win. They wanted someone that was going to benefit American and Israeli interests. And that brings me to this question, the refugees. People are asking, well, what does that mean for Venezuelans, like here in the United States? Like, what does that mean for the Venezuelan people? And this is where some people are going to get mad. Some of the Trump supporters are already like lashing out on Twitter. They're pissed because of what DHS just said about what is going to happen to Venezuelans under that TPS, that temporary status. Listen to this.
Venezuela today is more free than it was yesterday, and it's going to continue to be that way as long as President Trump is in the White House and is making sure that he's protecting the interests of the American people, because that ripple effect will continue to bring that kind of liberty to Venezuela as well. These programs, we're bringing integrity back to them. The decisions are made in conjunction with the State Department, with the White House, and then we at the Homeland Security implement them and make sure that they are followed through. So every individual that was under TPS has the opportunity to apply for refugee status, and that evaluation will look forward, but we need to make sure that our programs actually mean something and that we're following the law. And that's how that decision with TPS was made.
So Dog Killer Lady just said that those individuals under TPS status now will have the opportunity to get the refugee status. Did I hear that correctly? Okay, so here's the problem. This is how Donald Trump is playing the hell out of people, okay? You ran on closing the borders and stopping immigration, all this stuff, right? And I'm going to deport all these people and get these people out of here. And when I tell you, when you look at the numbers, Donald Trump has had controversial deportations, but the numbers show he has still not deported more people than previous administrations. So now they're telling you that the same people that they're supposedly doing mass deportations with, they're now giving them the opportunity to have the refugee status. This is how people get played. People are mad. People are very mad. I saw a number of people reposting this like, what the hell is wrong with her? The White House is trying to say, no, that's not what she said. This is exactly what she said. Too soon? Let's move to the Israel part. How much does Israel play a part in this? Well, just listen to what Netanyahu said before they kidnapped Maduro.
We've had an unbelievable success by degrading Iran, which was a first-rate power. Now it's a second-rate or third-rate power. They were throwing their weight all over the place, exporting terrorism, not only to every part of the Middle East, but to Venezuela. They're in cahoots with the Maduro regime, you know. They're exporting terrorism to America, to the American hemisphere, and then they want these Hezbollah and Hamas to get their guys into the United States. So Hamas and Iran's and its proxies are a threat not only to us, but to Israel, all America's allies in the Middle East, and to America.
And to America. Netanyahu said this right before Nicolas Maduro was kidnapped. So here we go again with Israel saying, well, you got to go into Venezuela and go after them because, you know, they're working with Iran and Hezbollah has made its way into Venezuela. This is the same guy that told you you had to go into Iraq and you got to take them down because they're a threat to Israel and they're a threat to America. This guy and his government has been walking into Congress, has been walking in to meet with different presidents, regardless of political party, for years, telling them who you need to have wars with. And Iran is one of the countries that is on that list. So let me tell you something else now. Iran is going to strike, Israel is going to strike Iran again sometime this year. They're going to strike them again. And the same thing that you just saw happen in Venezuela, they are going to use this to go after all these countries that will not bend the knee to Israel. And the way the U.S. is using this, if they're not bending the knee to Israel, then they're not bending the knee to the United States or to the West in general. This guy and his "you need to go to war" rhetoric over the years has caused more deaths. And that doesn't just include those who have been killed in the Middle East, but I'm talking about American soldiers who were killed as well. He was just here at Mar-a-Lago with Donald Trump. He celebrated New Year's Eve with Donald Trump. You wonder where Iraq came from? He was telling the U.S. that for years, you need to go into Iraq. So when people say, well, everything can't be because of Israel and listen to this. Listen to this. They're putting it out there in the open. One thing I will say about the Trump administration is they're not covert, they're overt. So it's all out there. You have no excuse to say, well, I don't know about that. Said it right here. Listen to what the Fox News pundit says.
Venezuela has become a hotbed for every adversary of the United States to operate in the Western Hemisphere. Hezbollah has operations. The terrorist group Hezbollah, based in Lebanon, has operations that are that have been widely reported to be based in Venezuela. Iran is operating in Venezuela, Russia, China. It has become sort of the satellite state for the countries who we consider our adversaries and who are bent on trying to do everything they can to destabilize and undermine the West. So Venezuela has become
all for Israel. All for Israel. Again, they're putting it out there in the open. Oh, we have another one here, of course, from the U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee himself, puts it out in the open.
America. It is not just a threat in the Western Hemisphere. It is a threat to the Middle East. So for the president to go after Venezuela not only deals with narco-terrorism and the many deaths of Americans who are killed by the poison of drugs, it is going to make life for those of us living in the Middle East much better, much safer.
And I have to stop it there because we can't show like explosions and stuff. But there's Mike Huckabee letting you know right there, this is going to be so much better for Israel. Every war, I look back on it, every war I feel like we've been involved in has been because of them. And it doesn't necessarily even have to be in the Middle East. I'm looking back at all of these things. We are turning pages. If we had a photo album. And for the people who are just, and this is the other thing I said, like, everybody should be angry. Everybody should be angry, should be livid. No one should celebrate. Everyone should be furious. Maduro stood with the Palestinian people.
Palestina, presidente. Palestina. Viva Palestina libre.
These are the people they go after. They go after the ones that are pro-Gaza, pro-Palestine, the ones who are not willing to bend the knee to Israel in their Zionist genocidal regime. Don't let them sit up there and tell you this is about drugs. Donald Trump just pardoned Juan Hernandez, who trafficked cocaine into the United States for years. So don't come up here and tell me this about no damn drugs. Get out of here. Don't believe it. Don't allow yourself to be fooled. Let's go to the next part, Eric. The Israel component. How many of these wars have they been behind? How many? Look at all the people who died in Iraq. All the people who died in the Iraq War. Afghanistan. All these wars. Maduro tried to warn you. He tried to tell us ahead of time. He said they were waiting.
Ya se está esperando el arranque de lo que pudiera ser una guerra de mayor dimensión, que supere a la de Ucrania y que supere a la guerra, al genocidio de Gaza. Porque estamos hablando de potentes unidades militares del Líbano.
Units from Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, Iran, among others. Listen.
De Yemen, de Irak, de Irán, entre otras. Así que Netanyahu está buscando.
Netanyahu is seeking to set the entire Middle East on fire, he says.
Incendiar todo el Medio Oriente con una guerra que uno sabe cómo puede empezar.
With a war that no one knows it may begin, but one does not know the ramifications.
Pero uno sabe las derivaciones y el impacto que va a tener en medio de una economía estadounidense.
In the midst of a U.S. and Western economy in recession.
Occidental en recesión. En medio de una crisis económica de los que fueron los factores principales de la economía mundial.
Economic crisis were the main drivers of the world economy for decades.
Durante décadas. Esa es la verdad. Por eso tenemos que defender.
He goes on to say we have to defend Venezuela's independence.
La independencia de Venezuela, la paz de Venezuela, nuestro proyecto nacionalista bolivariano propio. Por eso tenemos que defender que Venezuela no caiga en las manos del sionismo.
He said we have to defend Venezuela from falling to the hands of Zionism. And if people don't sit back and get what this is really all about, I don't know what else to tell you at this point. These are the people that they're going after. He said Zionism wants to get its hands on Venezuela. He knew it. He knew that it was coming. And they come up with different reasons, of course. It's a cancer spreading. Now this makes sense to me when we look at the Israel factor with Maduro's kidnapping. They've almost captured all of South America. What you have left now, you see Brazil. Guyana is very smaller up there. Here's Venezuela right there. They're going to come for Brazil too at some point. This is not over. That's the thing. Like, none of these countries are safe. So do you see how Israel has planted its flag all along the coast? And now they're going to come after Venezuela because they sit on all that oil. We'll get to that. And then Brazil is going to be the big golden nugget. But they're going to get all of this. That's what they want to do. This is the problem. And essentially, it's not just Zionism, it's colonialism. So colonialism never ended. It just shifted to Israel. And as much as people say it's the small, tiny little state that wants to expand. If it's one thing that history has taught us, it is colonialism expands. This is scary. And they'll go after any country that doesn't bend the knee. So you have that here. Here he goes on to say Cuba may be next, ladies and gentlemen.
Go ahead.
Is there a message here for Cuba and Diaz-Canel?
Well, Cuba is an interesting case. Cuba is, not doing very well right now. That system has not been a very good one for Cuba. The people there have suffered for many, many years. And I think Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about because Cuba is a failing nation right now, very badly failing nation. And we want to help the people of, it's very similar in the sense that we want to help the people in Cuba, but we want to also help the people that were forced out of Cuba and living in this country. Do you want to say something about it?
So let me show you the okie doke, okay? He wants to go in. Let's go into Cuba. We'll go into Cuba next, he says. So he says Cuba is a failing nation. So some of that has to do with the sanctions that have been implemented by the U.S. government. But the reality shows, according to the numbers, people in Cuba have a longer life expectancy than those of us here in the United States. They also have universal health care. Those things go hand in hand. And we already know that Israel has universal health care. So don't you find it strange that our politicians would care so much about the people in Cuba and the people in Venezuela when they don't even care about you? They don't care about you having health care. They don't care about you being able to actually have real liberation. How you got liberation if you can't even quit your job because you won't have health insurance? So you think you're free? You're not free. You just got a different ball and chain that's tying you down. You may not be in handcuffs. You may not be shackled. But the economic situation here in the United States is not great. And as much as Trump and them are trying to tout and say, we're going to go save these people, they're not saving people. They don't liberate people. This is colonialism. It's imperialism. And those countries, those people are going to be worse off after U.S. intervention every single time. So there's no freedom. There's no liberation. That's not what's happening there. We can't even save our own damn people. Now, Jeffrey Sachs also coming in, we're moving on to the money situation. So when we look at the money, listen to what Jeffrey Sachs says here.
So the U.S. government has been trying to strangle the Venezuelan economy. It started with sanctions in 2017 that prevented essentially the country from accessing international capital markets and the oil company from restructuring its loans. That put Venezuela into a hyperinflation. That was the utter collapse. Oil earnings plummeted. The earnings that are used to buy food and medicine collapsed. That's when the social humanitarian crisis went spiraling out of control. And then in this year is with this idea, very naive, very stupid in my view, that there would be this self-proclaimed president, which was all choreographed with the United States very, very closely. Another round of even tighter sanctions, essentially confiscating the earnings and the assets of the Venezuelan government took place. Now Venezuela is in complete, utter catastrophe. A lot of it brought on by the United States deliberately, creating massive, massive suffering. We know there's hunger. We know there's incredible shortage of medical supplies. We can only imagine, because we won't know really until the dust settles and careful studies are done, how much excess mortality there is. But surely in a context like this, this is a catastrophe.
It is a catastrophe. And this is what, Jeffrey Sachs tried to warn people about this as well. Sanctions kill people. It is economic warfare. Now, all of a sudden, like he said, you may not be able to afford medicine. You may not be able to get the treatment that you need, which means you could die. Like, this is really sad. Well, we also look at the money. Blatant statements that have been made out in the open about what they really want. I mean, listen to this here.
Of course, the countries, Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua with Russia relationships. Why this region matters with all of its rich resources and rare earth elements. You've got the lithium triangle, which is needed for technology today. 60% of the world's lithium is in the lithium triangle. Argentina, Bolivia, Chile. We just have the largest oil reserves, light sweet crude, discovered off of Guyana over a year ago. You have Venezuela's resources as well with oil, copper, gold. We have the Amazon, lungs of the world. We have the 31% of the world's fresh water in this region too. I mean, it's just off the charts. We have a lot to do. This region matters. It has a lot to do with national security.
Has nothing to do with national security and everything to do with the resources that she just mentioned there. Notice she also said Nicaragua, so they'll probably be looking to go into there next. So it has nothing to do with the people of Cuba. It has nothing to do with the people of Venezuela. I don't understand why Americans fall for this trick, because what the hell makes you think they care about people in another country when they don't even care about people here? People have to start using common sense. So she put it all out there in the open to let everybody know what the game was. Tulsi Gabbard, when she wasn't a kiss ass and selling out back in 2019, she said, it's about the oil again. Bolton just exposed the real motive for intervention in Venezuela. We're in conversation with major American companies now. It would make a difference if we could have American companies produce the oil in Venezuela. We both have a lot at stake here. That was Tulsi Gabbard 2019. By the way, Tulsi been very quiet since they kidnapped Maduro. So this is someone of all people who knows the game, but they're choosing to just play along because they have some typical future political aspirations. That's really what this is about for Tulsi Gabbard. She's the most shameful one of all because she talked about this for years. Now she pretends not to know any damn thing. We also talk about the money. We got to look at the petrodollar. And this is something else I think that may not be getting as much attention. The real reason the U.S. is invading Venezuela goes back to a deal Henry Kissinger made with Saudi Arabia in 1974. I'm going to show you that video. And then we're going to go back to the comments that he have here about the petrodollar. Here we go here.
The petrodollar is actually a device invented by Kissinger and Nixon.
U.S. President Richard Nixon sent his Secretary of State and National Security Advisor, Henry Kissinger, to Saudi Arabia for a secret meeting.
That meeting took place on a battleship called the USS Quincy, and very few records were kept of that meeting. But Roosevelt promised the King of Saudi Arabia weapons and protection in exchange for the United States to have the exclusive right to develop oil from Saudi Arabia using dollars. Meaning, if countries wanted to trade the most important commodity of all, oil, they needed to get their hands on dollars. And from that point on, oil would be priced in USD. And if a country tried to get their hands on oil without using dollars, that country historically needed more freedom in their lives.
See how this works? So I want to show you something else here that he said about the petrodollar. If we just go back up to the top part, right about here. This is important, this timeline. In 2000, Saddam Hussein announces Iraq will sell oil in euros instead of dollars. 2003 invaded, regime change, Iraq's oil immediately switched back to dollars. Saddam lynched. The WMDs were never found because they never existed. 2009, Gaddafi proposes a gold-backed African currency called the gold dinar for oil trade. Hillary Clinton's own leaked emails confirmed this was the primary reason for intervention. Email quote, "This gold was intended to establish a pan-African currency based on the Libyan golden dinar." 2011, NATO bombs Libya. Gaddafi sodomized and murdered. Libya now has open slave markets. And now Maduro, with 5 times more oil than Saddam and Gaddafi combined, actively selling in yuan. Building payment systems outside dollar control, petitioning to join BRICS, partnering with China, Russia, and Iran, the 3 countries leading global de-dollarization. This isn't a coincidence. Challenge the petrodollar, get regime changed. Every single time. If you follow the money, it'll all make sense. So the United States never wants these countries to have any true economic independence. And then there's the issue with the Rothschilds. One of the things that stood out to me on social media is that a Rothschild was very happy about this. And you got to know about the banking. This part is important as well. In 2000, there were 9 countries without a Rothschild-owned central bank. Now we get into the banks. Iran, Iraq, Cuba, Syria, Libya, Sudan, Venezuela, Afghanistan, and North Korea. They've checked out Iraq, checked out Libya, Sudan, Afghanistan. The U.S. has gone in and ruined all these countries. And you see the countries that are left. So that lets you know the plan, ladies and gentlemen. I keep telling you, this is not in with Venezuela. So you see who they coming for next. I forget who said it, but there was a quote that said, all wars are bankers' wars. I mean, it's all about money. If there was no profit, it was a lot easier to stop wars. But there's money to be had, right? So do you see this? The banks. That was in 2000. We are currently in an Israeli proxy war with Iran and Syria and about to overthrow Maduro in Venezuela. Another thing that stood out to me. This is Nat Rothschild. When Trump kidnapped Maduro, he said, "Well done, Donald Trump." So here come the bankers. This is what I keep telling people. All of this is connected. And check this out with Venezuela. This guy here, TB John, said, of course, Trump gets an attaboy from a member of the Rothschild family after the unprovoked attack on Venezuela. That's a confirmation. Check this out. Even AI knows it. No, Venezuela does not have a Rothschild central bank. The Central Bank of Venezuela, is a publicly owned institution responsible for the country's monetary policy and currency. The Rothschilds are Zionist, for those who are not aware. This is why I continue to say, and Eric, if you can find that picture of the pyramid, let me know in the chat. We talked about this a couple times on the show. The people you think are at the top are not at the top. When we also follow the money, we show here what happened with Polymarket after this. A newly created Polymarket account invested over $30,000 yesterday in Maduro's exit. The U.S. then took Maduro into custody overnight, and the trader profited $400,000 in less than 24 hours. Insider trading is not only allowed on prediction markets, it's encouraged. You see how much money is to make here? Following the money is very important. So the poly market, Wall Street, big opportunity for Wall Street. I don't know what they did with this. I probably have to update it again. Oh, it is there. Okay. Finance industry eyes investment opportunities in Venezuela. Of course they do. Some Wall Street people are already considering possible investment opportunities in Venezuela following the capture of Nicolas Maduro, according to Charles Myers, the chairman of the consulting firm Signum Global Advisors and a former head of investment advisory firm Evercore. So, and here it goes. They already talking about how they can make money in this situation. So, and this is why I say a lot of times these decisions, these policies, legislation, oftentimes don't happen unless it has some type of corporate interest attached to it. This is a perfect example. So Wall Street's happy. That tells you everything that you need to know. This is what I was talking about. See, a lot of times people think that the president is at the top. They're not. And if you look at this comparison here, feudalism then and now, medieval feudalism, you had the monarchs that were at the top. Those were the kings, the queens, and the emperors. Then you had the landed gentry, the clergy, the royal ministers, the merchants, the vassals, and at the bottom was everyone else, the peasants, the laborers, and the conscripts. Now, if you look at corporate feudalism today, you will see the billionaires are the ones at the top, right? Billionaires. Then you have the big bankers, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Lloyd's. I would also put the central banks along with the billionaires as well, like the Rothschild. I would put them up there as well. Then you have the corporate elite, Fortune 500 multinationals. Elected officials is all the way down here. And then you have top bureaucrats, commissioners, secretary, judges, top professionals, doctors, entertainers, and everyone else at the bottom, workers, students, soldiers. Most of us are this part right here. Most of us are the everyone else at the bottom. And so with Donald Trump as an elected official, it's a little bit different for him because he's not just an elected official, he's also a billionaire. So he has a little bit more control that others don't. But they got you attacking everybody else when you see who's actually at the top. So we've gone through the drug claim. We've gone through the refugee situation, Israel, the money, and now we're getting to the responses. Cringe statements here from CNN host Erin Barnett. Look how she's smiling about this.
Venezuela has a population of 30 million people, and now that is owned by the United States. Just to think about it from such a simple black and white set of numbers like that. Venezuela has a population of 30 million people, and now that is owned by the United States. Just to think about it from such a simple black and white set of numbers like that.
She seems a little too smiley there, saying that the U.S. owns it. Because Donald Trump went on to say, we own Venezuela now. We're controlling Venezuela. Sounds like colonialism to me. So yes, what Donald Trump did, I said Dr. Trump, what Donald Trump did was illegal. What Donald Trump did is wrong. But nobody trying to stop him neither. And that's what really pisses a lot of people off. When you look at the responses, there's a lot of information that I've seen on social media where people are posting videos that are incorrect. Alex Jones is one of them. Daniel McAdams said, ask yourself why Alex Jones is pushing disinformation in support of the neocons and the deep state. Wasn't his whole stick about opposing the deep state? So here's Alex Jones sharing this video. Millions of Venezuelans flooding the streets in Caracas and other major cities in celebration. So here's the problem, folks. That's false. Community Notes even checked it. This video shows anti-Maduro protests in Caracas in July 29th, 2024, following the disputed presidential election, not celebrations of his recent capture by U.S. forces. He's just one of them. We'll show you more. Well, Nick Shirley. Nick Shirley, the guy who just reported on the whole Somalian daycare thing. I mean, I don't know what to tell you guys, but look at this. Wait a minute. MSM Media lied to us again. The people of Venezuela actually didn't like being ruled by narco-terrorists. World Cup style celebrations are erupting all across Venezuela. Congratulations to the people of Venezuela. That's from Nick Shirley. There's just one problem. This video, for one, it received 3.8 million views. By the time Community Notes checked this, it was already over 115,000 views. But for the record, the video depicts Venezuelan exiles celebrating in the U.S. capture of Nicolas Maduro in Miami, Florida, rather than celebrations within Venezuela. And if you notice, all of the people who were posting these videos that have the Community Note tag attached to it, none of them have removed those videos. So what does that tell you? We talked about manufacturing consent, and we're seeing a different type of manufacturer consent this time, not necessarily just from corporate media, but also from those who claim to be independent grassroots journalists. So now you have that happening in the so-called independent space. All the Zionist accounts, all the pro-Israel accounts were posting these videos yesterday, telling people it's Venezuela when it's not. Here's another one. Notice how all of the shills went mega viral using fake videos. This is the new preferred tool to manufacture consent and brainwash the populace. How much more evidence do you need to realize you're being bombarded with a coordinated propaganda campaign? This is what I've been trying to tell people, right? So Wall Street Apes, this is another account that is known for posting fake videos, but they are elevated by Elon Musk on Twitter. So he said the Venezuelans are crying on their knees, thanking Trump and America for freeing them from Nicolas Maduro. So that video isn't even real. This is how far they're going. Community Notes tells everybody the video is AI generated and is currently being presented as a factual statement intended to mislead people.
Husker du dine chefs? Airfryer, ketchupsports-æraer. Godt, for det er lige blevet nemmere at sælge briller.
Notice again, Wall Street Apes has not removed that video. Now let's see how many people saw it. 4.6 million views. See, these are all the accounts that Elon Musk is elevating through the algorithm. I mean, you can look at this and tell this is AI, at least I can. So this is where we're at now, folks. This is where we're at now. Now, here's a video here showing you how the protesters in Venezuela, they're saying enough sabotage, enough blockade, enough hatred, enough threats for the North American empire against the homeland of Bolivar and Chavez. Today we demand the return of Nicolas Maduro. This is from the news.
Y aquí desde las calles de Caracas exigimos que nos devuelvan a nuestro presidente Nicolás Maduro, repudiando los hechos nefastos de agresión, de odio por parte del imperio norteamericano hacia el pueblo venezolano. ¡Basta ya!
So you guys get the point. I want to play the whole thing because it's kind of loud. But this is what, now those accounts that I just showed you, of course, they're not going to show you that. They're not going to show you those videos. This is from the news. So I warned you guys about Nick Shirley days ago. All these people, they're all in cahoots together and they're pushing out anything that is going to protect Donald Trump and support Israel. And Elon Musk is allowing it to happen. He got bought off as well. Some of the responses from the Democrats, and people are asking, why aren't the Democrat politicians standing up? Why aren't they saying anything? I mean, I think you guys know my answer to that question. But even people like Bakari Sellers are calling them out. Bakari Sellers, former congressman, who is definitely pro-Democrat and supports the Democratic Party, he called out Cory Booker. No one is reading all this. Democrats failed to meet moments. That was Cory Booker responding about Trump's unlawful actions in Venezuela. And Cory Booker wrote this long-ass statement, and it is long. Oh, what did I say? Oh, yeah, I said you can stop acting now. You know damn well this is that Israel is part of this. You kiss Israel's ass. Yeah, ain't nobody feeling you, Cory. Not today. Now, Senator Chris Van Hollen was one of the first people I saw that did speak out. Trump and his cronies can try to dress this up, but it is an illegal act of war to replace Maduro and grab Venezuela's oil for his billionaire buddies. So Chris Van Hollen, Ro Khanna, and Elizabeth Warren spoke out pretty quickly against what was happening. Chuck Schumer is just dancing around. I think I have that one. Let's show you here. It'll come up in just a second, I think. Marjorie Taylor Greene said, we're running Venezuela now, and she has the face palm, America first. She's speaking out against it. Thomas Massey says the 25-page indictment, but no mention of fentanyl or stolen oil. Search it for yourself. Calling out Pam Bondi. Abby Martin, really good one here. There's a special place in hell for everyone who laundered this blood-soaked mob boss as anti-war. You know who you are. That's something else. So save that for just a second. All the people who said you'd be better off voting for Trump because he would be anti-war and he would stop the wars and all this stuff. You guys got some apologizing to do. And they know who they are. Because it's not like you didn't have Trump before. Trump has already been president. So he kind of showed you, yeah, he was bombing Syria back then. He established the Muslim ban back then. People said, but he didn't start any new wars. Like, that motherfucker didn't stop any either. Use your brain. So Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, they're getting grilled as well online. People are telling them to resign because they're like, well, Maduro's a brutal dictator and da-da-da-da-da, and he stole an election. And like I told you, if that's the case, and Maria and her candidate Edmundo Gonzalez were the rightful winners, why is Donald Trump telling you that she's not popular in the region? That election wasn't long ago. Sounds like they just come up with things, right? Also, something else you need to think about. The US government really has no right to tell any other country about their elections when you guys don't even have true, real democracy here. When you guys sit up there and you remove third-party candidates and independent candidates off the ballot, when you suppress candidates that are not Democrat or Republican, when you don't have a primary, wink, wink, when you select candidates. So how are you going to tell another country about their elections? And at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of people just keep falling for the okie doke. Different decades, same story. Iraq, weapons of mass destruction. Venezuela, drugs. And essentially, with Venezuela, we could have another Iraq. And we all know how that turned out. So I don't know why people keep falling for this. Recent poll also shows that 65% of Americans do not support what's happening, what Trump just did in Venezuela. This is not good for Donald Trump. Never believe these sayings that it's about helping the American people. This has nothing to do with us. It is the Venezuelan people's right to choose who they want their leader to be. I have nothing to do with that. You have nothing to do with that. Imagine if someone came into the United States and just took the president of the United States. Well, some people would be happy if Trump was gone. But regardless who it was, imagine if another country did that. And they use different reasons every time. Now, they want you to believe they want to help people in Venezuela, right? But remember what Tupac said. They got money for wars, but can't feed the poor. That part. And that's the part that really gets me. I don't understand how Americans are just so naive at this point. Honey, they won't help you. They won't help you. They won't give you health care. They won't give you paid leave. They won't give you a living wage. They won't increase the minimum wage. And you think they want to help people in another country? No. People have been fooled. People have been used by Donald Trump. And honestly, I think anybody who voted for Donald Trump, I don't know, you guys need to form your own coalition or something. Like, I really do think you guys should like form your own coalition and raise Cain. Really. I don't know if you guys need to become a second party or a different party or whatever, but you guys need to make a coalition and raise hell. I said the same thing for the Democrats with the way that they screwed over Bernie Sanders. I was like, you know, all of us, we really need to. But no, people wanted to still try to operate within the Democratic Party. Who wins at the end of the day? It's not the American people, despite what Trump would tell you. It's not going to be the Venezuelan people either, because if they think they're struggling now, they're really going to be struggling a couple of years from now. Donald Trump will probably find a way to bring in boots on the ground, and you could have yourself another Iraq. Hey guys, this was a savvy clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.